Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 2 in this series reassembling John Lennon's childhood stamp collection. Now if you watched the previous episode, you will have seen me working on this, which was the first page of his collection, Great Britain stamps, and you'll see his page on the left and my handiwork on the right there. So in his album there's actually 3 pages of Great Britain stamps. So in this episode I'm going to be working on the second and third pages, the ones you can see on screen. So as per usual, it's a case of hunting through these albums that I've got, and I'm going to be pulling out all the relevant stamps, the ones I'm going to need to assemble pages. You can see I've put a thumbnail there in the top left so that you can see what I'm aiming for and which stamps I'm going to be needing. Nearly all the stamps here are King George VI ones, which makes sense because of course John Lennon, he was born in 1940, and King George VI stamps were current until 1953. So of course in his childhood these are the very stamps that he would have been seeing all the time, very commonplace everyday stamps back in those days. So just pulling out all the ones that I'm going to be needing. Bit of an odd album, this one. It's got a page of Denmark stamps right in the middle of the Great Britain section. Don't ask me why. So as you can see, I'm just pulling out all matching stamps. This system really is the same system that I use in my normal videos, whereby I just take out the stamps that I'm going to be wanting for whichever set I'm working on at the time. I end up with loads more than I actually need, but then I can sort through what I've got at the end and select the ones that I want to use. And that's what I'm doing this time as well with these stamps. Rather than just pull them out one at a time, I'm just going to gather everything I can find together, and then I can make selections based on what I've got in front of me. And a few more to be had here. Practically all of these albums have got a selection of Great Britain stamps in. There's a couple on piece there. This one is in a right state, but I might need it, so I'm going to keep it, and that will be one of the ones that benefits from having a bath at the end of this. Some nice stamps here. It's a really densely packed album page, this. When I lay my pages out, I normally leave a lot more space in between the stamps, but whoever assembled this collection, he's packed them really tight. Now some of these stamps are stuck fairly firmly to the paper. I've developed a technique of being able to remove them without damaging them, usually. This one here was stuck down really firm, and I thought I would be able to tease it out as normal. And I've figured out how to remove stamps without damaging them, usually, but this one managed to make a hole right through the centre of it. So unfortunately that one's going to end up in the bin. So So regular viewers will know what comes next. I'm going to pop all these in a bath of water, give them a soak, and when it comes to old used stamps like this, I find that this really freshens them up and improves the appearance of them. So I'm a big advocate of giving a soak to used stamps like this. There may even be one or two mint ones in amongst this lot, but I'm not troubled. So here they all are, laid out on a towel, nice and dry, and you can see that they look in much better condition now. Don't know why I pulled this one out of the album. I'm not going to be needing that one. Now these halfpenny stamps, they exist in two different shades. As you can see here, a dark one and a slightly lighter one. Not 100% sure which ones John Lennon had in his album, but I'm going to be using the darker ones, mainly because I have enough of them. Now here are the two album pages I made. I've designed them to be as close as possible to the original album, and they do look pretty close when you compare them side by side. There's the heading at the top, and I also put the correct page numbers in at the bottom. So all the stamps I managed to salvage, I've put them in this stock book just for convenience really, so I can see exactly where I'm at and I can just select the ones that I want to go on the paper. I'm trying to select the best one I have, the best example of each stamp. I'm not just looking at the stamp here either, I'm also looking at its overall appearance, which means I'm taking into account the postmarks on them. In John Lennon's collection, all the stamps, nearly all of them, are used, and so I've made a point of trying, where possible, to use stamps that have similar looking postmarks, so the overall effect is that the stamp looks the same as the original one. It's not always possible, of course, but where it is, that's what I'm doing here. And that's the case with this stamp now, this one. It's got an almost identical postmark to the one in place on the page, so I'll be using that one. Now right in the middle of this page, a gap that I couldn't fill. You can see there's a fair bit of duplication here as well. These often on these album pages, the same stamp is present more than once. I think this one's on there 3 times. And just one more to complete this page. Right, this next page, there's a thumbnail in the corner there you can see. It's made up of pairs and strips. Now the chances of me actually finding pairs and strips like this, particularly that vertical strip of 4, were practically 0. So what I'm going to be doing is just using single stamps. But I'm going to lay them on the page so that they're very close together, almost touching, and that should then hopefully give the appearance that they are joined together. And just one more stamp on this page, right at the bottom. Okay, so it's just a case of hinging them and putting them on the paper. Now unfortunately we had some unexpected sunshine today, and you can see that's messed around a little bit with the camera settings. Lighting and contrast isn't ideal, but hopefully you can see what's going on here. Now this next stamp I'm about to do, I'll just show you John Lennon's original album again in the right there. You can see this one's wonky, it's at a slight angle. No doubt it was straight when it was first put in the album, but it's ended up at a slight angle. So what I decided to do was put mine at that same angle as well. Right, and on to page 2. So just about to start putting these stamps on the paper when I realised I've actually laid them a bit too high up the page. So fortunately I noticed in time. So I'm just going to move them down a bit so that they're in the correct places. Just positioning these so that they look as if they're joined up. And let's just skip ahead a little bit. And there's that strip, which doesn't look too bad, I don't think. And there's that sunshine again. And this last stamp, again I had a choice here, so I chose one which has got a near identical postmark to the original stamp. And there we have it. Now that missing stamp, the gap in the middle of the left hand page there, I had a rummage through some duplicates and spares that I've got. Managed to find one, so I'm going to be using that. The idea of this project really is to use stamps that have been retrieved from those feeder albums, but I don't think it's cheating too much. I think it's better to have a stamp here, if I've got one in the house, than just to leave a gap. And here's the finished result. Only one thing missing is those little black and white illustrations. So with the power of computers, there they are. And I don't think they've come out too bad. Here you can see all 3 of the Great Britain pages now completed, side by side, and I'm very pleased with the way this project's going ahead. So please like and subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. Next time we'll be doing Australia and Canada.